All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on when and where you're watching this Facebook Live. I am Dr. Ola Binton, CEO and co-founder of Living Spring
Excited.
Oh my goodness. And the topic we're talking about today is, Doc, my thyroid levels are normal, but I seem to have hormonal symptoms. Help me. And I'm here with the one and only Dr. Dana Gibbs. How are you doing, Doc?
I am doing so well and I'm excited to be here. And this is so cool that we got to do this in person because I live local and it's just so cool.
I know. Oh. All right, let me try to calm down because this is good. If you're watching live, hashtag live. If you're watching this replay, hashtag replay. It's such a privilege to have a especially doctor locally and someone who I can talk to one-on-one. It helps me serve my patients better, and I can't wait for her to share her knowledge with you today. So, Doc, if you don't mind, can you kindly introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
All right. So I am Dr. Dana Gibbs Clark. I got married, so I changed my name. I have been an ENT doctor for about 24 years. And my office up until this year was in Arlington, Texas. And I recently retired from that gig and I'm now focusing exclusively on thyroid and hormone balancing for patients who have been ignored or bypassed by the traditional mainstream medicine. So people who have not gotten well from the care that they've gotten so far.
I love what you do because I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I do encounter those patients where, we've done the basic labs and we don't know what else to do. And I'm glad that you're choosing this niche because I know patients who could use your services. So this is good. Now, why did you decide to do this? Why did you niche down?
Okay, so I am a thyroid sufferer myself,
Okay.
and I can only guess. I think I probably went 20 years undiagnosed with symptoms that at the time I just thought, oh, I'm just worn out. I'm just tired. I'm lazy, whatever. And it wasn't until after I had finished all my college, med school, residency training, I'd been out in private practice for a couple of years, and I was going to conferences, and I wandered into the wrong conference room one day, and they were doing a lecture on thyroid, and it was they were listing the symptoms of low thyroid, and my jaw hit the floor. I was like, oh my gosh, they're talking about me.
Wow.
And then he said, you can't always find, here's what you do instead. And I went the next week to my gynecologist and I said, will you please write this for me? And it was like a miracle. And ever since then, I've just been, okay, there's more to this than mainstream medicine knows. What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? And I finally found somebody who could explain it to me. And it was at that same conference a few years later. And after the lecture, I went up to the speaker and I said, can you please teach me? Because you know something that is going to save so many people. And so I've been basically taking lessons from that same person ever since. And it was very interesting because as an ENT, of course, we do thyroid surgery.
Yeah.
And so I would see patients for their thyroid nodule and I'd say, I don't think you have to have surgery right now. Let's see if we can give you medicine and suppress the growth of whatever nodule it is on medicine. And I would do it the way he said. And, I couldn't necessarily make the nodule get smaller, but I could make it stop getting any bigger. And not only that, but the patients would say, hey, you know, doc, I feel different. I feel more energy. I don't sleep as much as I used to. I've stopped waking up with night sweats. I have all this energy now. I'm not feeling sluggish. I'm not feeling constipated. I'm not feeling, you know, there's a big list of symptoms that have to do with thyroid. So, and one of the biggest things that they would say is, hey, you know what? My sinus problems are gone.
Interesting.
Yeah. So their immune system was healthier.
Okay.
And so then, because I'm an ENT, I'm seeing all these sinus patients. And so I started looking for it, and I'd go, hey, you know, somebody would come in for their sinuses, and I'd say, well, you need this sinus surgery. But I know when I look at your history that you have this and this and this and this. Would you mind if we checked your thyroid? And I would do it, and I would put them on the medicine. And then the patient would disappear. And I'm like, this is funny. What's going on? And then 6 or 9 months later, they would show up back, and I would say, hey, when are we going to do your sinus surgery? And they'd go, oh, I don't need that. I feel better. Wow. My sinus problems are gone. I just need a refill on that medicine you gave me. Wow. And I'd be like, whoa,
you hit something here.
This is real. And it just kept happening over and over and over again. And pretty soon I started to get a reputation. It's like, send Dr. Gibbs your difficult thyroid patients. I'm like, okay, let's do this.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. And the other thing was, the thyroid patients would get older, and then they would start heading towards menopause. And I'd be like, no, I can't help you with that. I'm an ENT doctor. I can't do that. And as I got closer and closer to menopause myself, I went back to my same mentor, and I said, hey, can I take your full course? And I did, and I took it, and I took it again. And I was like, you know what? I'm in a group practice. I'm an ENT. I can't do this. And so when I finally decided, hey, look, I'm not really loving doing surgery anymore. I'm ready to move on from that. Then I said, okay, now I can do what my patients want. So here I am.
Awesome.
I'm going to do all of it.
Awesome. And I like that you also felt the pain points of your potential clients, so you can relate.
Oh my
gosh.
Your
clients,
so I have felt a lot of their pain points.
Wow.
I mean, if you, I have some videos where I've gone in depth into just how miserable I was when I was in college and med school and residency. And, I mean, to the point of like passing out on rounds and stuff like that. Wow. Because my blood pressure would get so low, my pulse would get so low. So, just all kind of stuff like that. And it was, and I would go to the doctors, and they would do all these tests, and they would say, oh, you're normal, go away. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm just lazy. Okay.
I'm glad you stumbled into that lecture hall.
Yeah, I really am too, because I can't even imagine where I would be still personally without the change in my health that I had after that. Yeah, it was miraculous for me.
All right. So Doc, I have people who are watching who's like, yeah, I hear about the thyroid hormone. What exactly is the thyroid hormone, and what does it do? Like, why is this such a big deal?
Okay. So your thyroid, that's this little gland right here at the base of your neck. It's shaped like a butterfly. It's not even something you can, but it produces a chemical called thyroid hormone. Actually, there's several chemicals that come under the heading of thyroid hormone, and they go into all your body cells, and they cause them to grow, and they cause them to activate and burn energy and give you strong muscles and give you growth and give you now, it's not the only hormone that does everything, does a lot of that stuff. I mean, you also need cortisol. That's another very essential hormone that you have to have. And cortisol and thyroid hormone are kind of like this. They're kind of wrapped in together. And without either one of them, you will die. eventually. If you didn't have any of it, then you would die.
Now, for someone who's watching, who's like, well, how do I know that my symptoms are thyroid related? Or better yet, what are common symptoms of thyroid issues?
Okay. So if you're cold a lot, if you're cold, if you feel cold all the time, if your hands and feet, if you like shake hands with people and you're like, oh, I just have cold hands, warm heart. Yeah, that's a big thing. If your body temperature is a point lower than everybody else, that's a pretty big one. If your blood pressure is a little low, if your pulse is a little slow, if you're sluggish, if you need to sleep 10 hours a day, or even if you sleep that long, you still feel sleepy. Those are very, very common ones. And then I mentioned constipation. That's another one. I know a doctor who had this kind of the same problem I did, but her main symptom was that she was so constipated that her doctors advised her to have her colon removed. And it turned out it was thyroid. And that just breaks my heart when I think about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, so those are the biggies. And then without healthy thyroid, your hair will be thin, it will be brittle, it'll break, it'll get really thin here on top. It's funny, I look at pictures of back when I had first delivered my baby and my hair was so thin, you could just see right through it on the top. You lose your eyebrows here on the corners. That's another one. Your tongue will get thick to where if you stick your tongue out, you can see little ridges along the sides of it where your teeth dig in because your tongue is swollen.
Wow.
You can get swelling in your ankles, swelling in your wrist to where your wrist will be thick and then it'll be thin and then your hands will be puffy. So that's one. And everybody thinks, oh, well, I'm too heavy. And so that's low thyroid. Well, it's not always the case. There's so many reasons why people have abnormal weight gain, but thyroid does play a role in that too. And so I don't want to discount that, but that's not by far the only thing that it does.
Okay. Now and I love that the topic we're talking about is my thyroid levels are normal, but I seem to have hormonal symptoms. So you have some normal, but there seems to be a family history of it in my family, and the symptoms seem to line up. What would you say to that patient who needs maybe to advocate for themselves before their primary care doctor? What would you say to that?
Okay. So there are several blood tests. So, you say, I've had the normal labs. Well, for most doctors, the normal labs that they're going to do is the thyroid stimulating hormone, or TSH. And sometimes that's the only one they're going to do. And the problem with that is that if you do a thyroid panel, the other labs that are on the thyroid panel are old, outdated things that even I don't really know how to interpret. And so what you have to actually do is you have to check the hormone levels. And so that is there are 3 that I check. Actually, there are 4 that I check. So I check the free T3 and the free T4. And when you look at those with your doctor, something to keep in mind is that the normal levels that your lab gives, which is what's called a reference range, is 2 standard deviations up and 2 standard deviations down. And what that means is that normal range is really, really broad.
Okay.
And what I have found out is that the ideal range, or where I think the majority of people feel good, is a much smaller and much tighter range than the reference ranges that your lab is going to give you. So that's 2 things. And then there are 2 more labs that I check. And one of them is called reverse T3. And the other one is called total T3. And you have to check those 2 together because of your protein status. And what I mean by that is We talked about free T3, free T4.
Mhm.
Well, that's
Mhm.
the part of your thyroid hormone, and it's only a few percentage points. It's less the total T3 and the reverse T3 are bound up with protein.
Okay.
And the reverse T3, you can't get a free reverse T3.
Okay.
There's no such thing. That lab doesn't exist as
T3.
far as clinically. So you need the total T3 so that you can compare it with the reverse T3. And the reason why that's important is because reverse T3 is something that your body makes when it's under distress, under stress, and it goes to your cells and it blocks the T3 from binding with the binding sites that it needs to do in order to make all the good thyroid things happen. So reverse T3 is something that almost no other doctors know about or test. And you have to compare it with that total T3 because of that protein binding status.
Okay.
And what you're looking for is a ratio of 10-1.
Okay.
So total T3, a good level of total T3 is going to be somewhere between 110 and maybe about 160. And like I said, it can vary because of your protein status. If you have a lot of free proteins floating around, then it'll be higher than somebody who has lower proteins. And that can be related to like your estrogen status. If you have a lot of estrogen, you're going to have one way. And if you don't have a whole lot of estrogen, you're going to have the other way. But the ratio takes care of that. So you look at that ratio and you want a 10-1 up to about a 14-1. And if you don't have that, if it's a lot lower than that, then you're not going to feel well, no matter how perfect your free T3 and your free T4 are. So that's a big part of what I do all day, every day, is I get those 5 labs and I compare them. And so if you're on thyroid medicine, here's another thing, is that doctors don't realize how much the levels fluctuate if you're on thyroid medicine. So say you take your thyroid medicine at 7 in the morning, your blood levels go up, 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 up. And then, for about an hour, they go up and then they start to go down, and they go down steadily and slowly all day long and all night long until it's time to take your medicine again. And then whoosh, up it goes again. And so if you're going to the lab at a different time every time you go to the lab, like say your doctor's appointment was 8 in the morning. So you took your thyroid medicine at 7, you went to your doctor's appointment at 8. By 9 o'clock, you're at the lab getting your blood drawn. But then the next time your doctor's appointment was in the afternoon, looks like even on your free T4, you're going to have a big variation. And so your doctor may be like, oh, it's too high, we have to lower your dose. Oh, it's too low, we have to raise your dose. Up, down, up, down, up, down. And that just makes the problem worse. And so it's really, really important to realize how much fluctuation you get with T4 during the day. And nobody really knows that, because when I was in med school, they taught us that thyroid hormone lasts 2 weeks in your body. And that may be true for the thyroid hormone that's made by your thyroid, but it is not true for the thyroid pill that you put in your mouth.
There's a difference.
There's a big difference. Yeah.
Wow. So it sounds to me that there's new data on thyroid. Or maybe rediscovered data. I don't know how
maybe rediscovered. It's data that's not it's not paid attention to for some odd reason. And I mean, it's funny when you think about it. Medicine as a whole is very, very slow to take on new ideas. So for example, when somebody figured out, and this is old example, when somebody figured out that radiation, like X-rays, cause birth defects. And started saying, hey, women should have their abdomen covered if they are pregnant, or they
Right.
shouldn't have x-rays while they're pregnant. It took 20 years before mainstream medicine finally said, oh, okay, we shouldn't just throw x-rays around like they're candy.
Right.
At the time when that was discovered, people were going into shoe stores and people were having their feet x-rayed in shoe stores to determine
Wow.
what size shoes they should be wearing. I mean, I wasn't alive when that happened,
Okay.
but that's kind of an example of how slow medicine is to take up new ideas.
Okay. So for someone who's watching now, who is saying like, oh, are you saying that I should go to my doctor and have them do these labs? Or like, how can they advocate for themselves when it comes to their
Wow.
thyroid? That's a tough question.
It is a tough question
Right.
because there are so few people who know what I know and treat patients the way I treat them. That it's hard for me to say, oh, just go to your family doctor. Now, if you want to, you can have your family doctor call me.
Okay.
I'll go over the labs. If you get those 5 labs that I said, I'll go over it with them.
Okay.
and help them figure it out.
Or
I actually
send them to you.
or
like you
yeah, or send them to me. That's fine. If they're
Send them to you.
if people are
Okay.
local and you really feel like, okay, I'm not getting the relief that I need with the medicine that I'm already on, come and see me. I can really help with that. That's what I do all day long. That's what I
Okay.
love. That's and I'm really passionate about it because of how much it helped me.
Help to you.
Yeah, I really, really am.
Awesome. So to wrap up, this has been a lot, and one of the things I've
gosh.
learned,
There's
this
so
is
much
good.
more, too.
I believe you, but one of the things I'm learning, to also help empower our viewers is if there's a family history of thyroid issues, if some of the symptoms ring true. Of course, there are other medical conditions that could explain it, like she said.
Absolutely.
But it may be worth, doing a deeper dive into your thyroid levels, and I've seen that happen. I've had patients come back to tell me. And I have someone who's watching. Thank you for watching. She says she knows Dr. Gibbs.
Oh,
she is fabulous. And so, the truth of the matter is sometimes the onus is on you as a patient to advocate for yourself. If you feel that some of the symptoms are in line with thyroid issues, it may be worth a second opinion, talking to your primary care doctor, asking for a referral to an ENT doctor or a thyroid specialist that's well versed on thyroid hormones, because sometimes it needs some fine tuning.
Yeah,
I've had people feel worse on thyroid medicines, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know. And I see combination types, and
some of the reason why people feel worse on thyroid medicine is because of that reverse T3 thing that I was talking about. Because if you take thyroid medicine and you take the wrong ratio of thyroid medicine, your body is just going to take it and make it into reverse T3, which knocks things back and makes you feel worse. That's one reason. There's others.
Wow. This was a very good conversation. So people are wondering, well, I like Dr. Gibbs. I Gibbs Clark. I'm sorry.
Well, I've been Gibbs for so long that I still answer to Gibbs all the time.
Oh my goodness. And they're watching it like, well, how can I connect with you? How can I, maybe physicians watching, like, you know what, this would be good to know. I've learned a lot just listening to you and watching some of your Facebook lives. And I do know some of my clients that I need to send to you. Okay. But someone who's watching who's like, how can I connect with you? How can I get her to come, speak on my platform? Doc, where can people find you?
Okay. Well, I am on all the socials at DanaGibbsMD.com, or my alter ego is Allergy Access MD, because I also have a course where I teach docs to do allergy. But my new website for my practice is DanaGibbsMD.com.
All right, awesome. And I'm going to put that on shortly, so that way you have access to it and you can connect with Dr. Dana Gibbs Clark. Let me see. Yep, there's your website. Let's do that. And there it is. All right. And are you also on TikTok?
Facebook page. Oops, I missed
Facebook. Facebook.
Typo.
I think we get it. Facebook
typo.
Oh, I just put it again. Facebook page. Facebook page, guys. All right, you get the idea. And thank you all for watching. Those of you who joined us live and those of you who joined us in replay, please forward this to those who you know could benefit from this. Also to other maybe clinicians who could find this useful and be more empowered to help their clients do better. Dr. Dana, thank you so much for coming.
This
and for
has
gracing.
been so much fun. Really so much fun. Oh my gosh.
Oh, likewise, I
Thank
feel
you
the
for having
same.
me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you all for watching. And if you or anyone you know is looking for an awesome, a thorough, and a passionate family physician here in the Mansfield, Texas area,
Right here.
I am she. Thank you all for watching. Have a good one. Bye.